Hey guys, Ningen here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so I know some of you will have been expecting this. I always drop a guide like this right before an EZA. So we are going to talk about team building for the MERGED ZAMASU EZA. Depending how long YouTube takes to process this, it should be up, I would say sometime like 11 or 12 hours before the EZA comes out. It all depends, because I am recording this like the day before. Because I've got quite a busy schedule tomorrow, so I'm trying to record a couple of videos at once. But because this is an EZA that's been on JP, it's not like anything's going to change in the next 24 hours. So it's the TEQ MERGED ZAMASU, very good unit. I did the showcase video for him yesterday before his EZA, and he's still pretty decent. But he definitely gets a very big improvement, which of course we will show off tomorrow once he's fully EZA'd. So the weakness is worthy rivals, which we'll get into. We'll go over the very basic details here. It's your typical 30 stage EZA. You can't stun from stage 5 onwards. You can't attack lower from stage 15 onwards. And then once you get to stage 20, you're going to have a huge amount of damage reduction from certain units. So all AGL, TEQ and STR, and all extreme. So literally from stage 20 onwards, the only units that are really going to be doing damage are super physical and super int. So then of course you get down here, 30 stages, get all the medals, go higher if you want to get a ton of Zenny, and then of course you will get yourself all the medals you need to fully EZA him. I don't know why these images aren't loading. Orbs to fully rainbow a unit. It's really triggering me that these aren't loading, as they normally do. And then you get 11 TEQ Kais and then 30 Dragon Stones. And then of course you get the 4 stones from missions as well. No, it's still not loading. So 34 stones in and out, nice and easy, 30 stages, and then obviously you can go more if you want to get extra Zenny. So let's talk about the worthy rivals category. So this is going to be a weird one for some people, because I know a lot of people skipped both of the banners that Piccolo's been on. His debut one at the start of the year, and then of course he was on the Android 13 banner. I am one of those people. I did a couple of multis on the Piccolo banner. I didn't even do a proper summon video for it. I think I might have done them on stream. And then obviously for the Android 13, I got super lucky and pulled 2 copies of him from the PLAF ticket multi. So obviously never spent a single stone on the banner, so I don't have the Piccolo. I think it's always best to save red coins for Dokkan Fest LRs, so I haven't bought a copy of him from when 13 was released. So I don't have this Piccolo, but like a lot of global players, I do have this TEQ Vegeta, who's going to be the main stand-in. So if we have a quick look at them, Piccolo, 150% and free key. He's obviously the best leader. If you don't have him, you want to try and find a friend. Obviously, during EZAs, that's the time you are most likely to find him, because anyone who has a Piccolo out there, make sure you set him as your friend leader to help everybody out, and then you'll actually be able to find Piccolo friends for a change. So he's really good, obviously, because he's super physical, which they've obviously done on purpose because he's the main category leader. He doesn't have type advantage, but he's in the category. He can still deal damage. He'll never transform, because there isn't a single other Namekian on the Worthy Rivals team who isn't also Piccolo, because the category is basically the Piccolo and Vegeta category with a couple of other people thrown in. So he's never going to transform, but he's still solid. You get to see the enemy supers, which is really nice, especially in an EZA, because it's a mode that you can't heal, so you can try and put your best tanking unit on that rotation in front of his super attack. So if you're like me, and probably a lot of people out there, you're going to be using this Vegeta. Worthy Rivals category, key +3, HP attack and defense 120%, or TEQ types, which obviously we don't want to use many TEQ types, because he's not going to do any damage. That's the problem. So we already said from the start, you have to have super physical or super int if you want to deal damage. So he's not going to deal a lot of damage, but he does infinitely stack his defense, and he obviously raises his defense quite high when you pick up TEQ orbs, which he changes orbs to TEQ. So because he's in the category and is able to have quite high defense, he shouldn't take a lot of damage, so he should be good defensively. He's just obviously not really going to deal any damage, but that's kind of the flip side of not having the Piccolo, I suppose. But depending how you want to build your team, there is actually also one other option, which I think is very, very good. I overlooked him very briefly. He was going to be one of the units that I was going to talk about being on the team. But if we have a look, we have the physical transforming Vegeta. So he's been out for over a year now. He came out on Saiyan Day last year. So a lot of people, I would imagine, probably have this guy by now. He is a pure Saiyans leader for 3 key and 150%, but he also supports super types. So if you have this guy, you can bring him, stack up your team with as many Vegetas as you can, and trust me, there are a lot of them up here. And then any other units that aren't pure Saiyans are still going to get 100% buff from him, and then if you're bringing a Piccolo friend, 150% buff from the Piccolo friend. So 250 in total is perfectly fine for the first 30 stages of an EZA. So I will probably be using this guy as my leader. I was so fixated on these two that I'd like completely forgotten about this possibility. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone else thought of that as well. But yeah, he's a very good leader because of the sheer number of Vegetas that we're going to look at in a minute. So to a lesser extent, you could use this guy, because he's still giving pure Saiyans a bigger buff than just using the TEQ blue Vegeta. But the only problem is, not only is he not going to do damage because he's not super physical or super int, but he also has type disadvantage against Zamasu. So this guy's kind of like a last resort leader because he will get absolutely smacked around by Zamasu. So you're going to want to keep them off rotation unless it literally means putting him in front of a whole bunch of attacks. You just want to have this guy not get hit at all. But if you do that, technically his leader skill is better than the TEQ blue Vegeta, and they have the same name, so you can only use one or the other anyway, right? So I think this guy is your best bet if you don't have the Piccolo, and then this guy is like a secondary one who, like I say, won't deal damage but will be good defensively. So if we move on to the other units, we have the... Oh, sorry, this is another one I forgot. So Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta is here simply because, again, he won't deal damage because he's not the right typing. But if you're bringing a whole team of Vegeta family units, then yeah, his leader skill is going to be really good for them. And he'll be decent defensively after he super attacks. Because, of course, he is in the category, but he's just not going to deal a lot of damage, unfortunately. But his defense should be decent after he super attacks, and he gives a nice buff. So honestly, it just depends how many Vegeta units you have, because his secondary leader skill is kind of useless. So I feel like this guy is the last resort leader if you don't have any of the other ones, but you could use him. But then we get on to the actual team. So this guy is like top pick number 1. He's been out for... He came out... Was it on Saiyan Day as well? So he's been out for over a year. He's been in the general pool for like a year. So hopefully you've pulled this guy at least once. You're not fighting an android, so he's not going to get guaranteed crit. But because EZAs are so short, and this guy's going to hopefully turn up on the first or second turn, you're going to have full health, so he's going to be getting 200% attack and defense. So he's really, really good, and he will deal a lot of damage. And he has type advantage, so he's going to tank super, super well. So he is like top pick for a non-leader unit, unless of course, like, you know, you have the Piccolo and then you're probably going to want to bring the physical Vegeta. But I honestly think this guy's probably going to be better than him in terms of damage and tanking, so he's very, very good. If you have this guy, he needs to be on your team. Then of course we have this guy. Now bear in mind, we don't have his EZA on global, but he's still going to be good because he's in the category, he's got type advantage, he does immense damage and raises his attack, so he's going to hit nice and hard. You can't lower the enemy's attack, so that part of his passive is not going to be important. But the problem is he doesn't really give himself any defense. So he does make up for that by having the type advantage. But I feel like once you get to the last few stages, he will probably take quite a bit of damage. And of course, if you are running the TEQ Vegeta as your leader, you won't be able to use this guy on the team. So if you're not using him as the lead, this guy's going to be a very good pick. Obviously once he gets his EZA, he'll be insanely good, but you know, that's not for a while to come, so he'll be very good. I definitely recommend bringing him. Then we have this guy. So some of you might not have him. He was on the first Heroes banner featured, and then of course he was on the second Heroes banner but unfeatured, so your chances of pulling him there were quite low. I was lucky enough to pull a couple of copies from the original banner. Not only is he an int unit in the category, like the 2 most important check marks, he infinitely stacks his defense, which is really good, and then of course he is a Vegeta family category support unit. So since most of the unit, like literally every unit we've talked about so far other than Piccolo, is a Vegeta family unit, so he's just going to be really good for supporting everyone on the team, even if you just run him off rotation. But to be honest, if you have this guy and not a lot of the other top picks, he could easily be a main rotation unit. He's actually really good, and he's going to be very, very good in this event. Plus, he has the benefit of having a completely unique name. So you can, if you have this guy, put him on your team because he literally doesn't take the place of anyone else. Like, when him and the Goku eventually get TURs, which I hope they will, like, they're going to be so good. So definitely bring this guy if you have him. Then we start getting onto some non-Vegeta units here with the MVP Android 17. Super physical, so he can deal damage. He's in the category. He's got decent defense as it is anyway. He gives everyone defense, which is really nice. So nice big buff to everyone on the rotation. And if you're getting to like the 3rd or 4th turn, considering you can't heal, and you drop below 77% HP, maybe you got unlucky and took a super in the 1st turn and you're already below 77% on turn 2, he reduces damage by 40%. So that, coupled with his defensive buff and the leader skills all factored in, he won't take any damage from Zamasu, apart from a super, I guess, if this secondary part of his passive is active. Plus he gives ki, so if you did happen to bring any LRs, that's quite useful as well, especially because, you know, all the other Vegeta units on the team are all going to have like prepared for battle, and not many of them have shocking speed or tournament of power, so that ki is going to be really useful. Then we got this guy's a random pick, but I feel like if you're missing a lot of the units that we have already spoken about, you probably have this guy, because he's been the World Tournament reward for what, like 4 or 5, maybe more World Tournaments now, so you probably have a couple of copies of this guy. He is the best World Tournament LR so far, until the Demon King Piccolo comes out. And he's in the category and he's super physical, so he's actually really good, especially because technically he's free to play, although obviously, well, you know, finishing high enough in the World Tournament to get multiple copies of him is not as easy if you're free to play, but he's probably going to be a decent choice. I mean, he doesn't make the cut in like the top pick team, but he's a decent unit, so he's definitely worth a look in. Then we have this STR Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, who does have his EZA on global, so he's not going to deal any damage, and he can't stun because of his typing and the fact that the EZA can't be stunned past stage 5, but he reduces damage by 80%, and he's in the category, so he's not going to take any damage, and it's for 10 turns. Like, even when you get to stage like 300 on some of the EZAs, they never last 10 turns. Either you or the enemy will be dead in 10 turns. So he's a really good defensive option if you don't have some of the units that we've mentioned already. He's not going to deal any damage, but there's always those glorious times, whether it's an EZA, the legendary Goku event, Super Battle Road, where you're going to get a rotation where there's like 5 attacks all in one slot, and you can just put this guy there and he won't take any damage. So that's going to really help you out in the long run, even though he doesn't deal a lot of damage himself. So he's actually a decent pick. And again, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is a pretty unique name, because you're not going to use the TEQ one or even the physical one that was global exclusive for a while, because neither of them are very good in this event. And speaking of Super Saiyan 3 Vegetas, we also have the Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, featured on the last Heroes banner because he got his awakening. He's in the category and he's super physical, so he's going to be able to deal damage. He greatly raises his attack. He gets a huge attack buff. It's like attack and defense 100%. Then he also gets 50% when performing a super attack. And then this other part of his passive, he gets an additional attack and defense and chance to crit 7% per Dragon Ball Heroes category ally on the team. So even if you only bring him, he counts as 1. If you bring that in support Vegeta, he counts as 1 as well. So even if he had no dupes in him, he's going to have a 14% chance to crit and an extra 14% attack and defense as well. So whilst he's not as good defensively as the Xeno Goku, he's going to hit really hard in this event. So he'll actually be pretty decent as well. So those are the units that I think are like the top picks, with a couple of sort of random choices thrown in at the end. No one else here really stands out. Like LR Piccolo, I guess, is gonna be good defensively, but he won't really deal any damage, even though he's in the category and has type advantage. Looking at AGL units is just pointless. TEQ, like we say, they're not going to do any damage. Piccolo is not in on global, he's STR, so he's not, doesn't even factor in. Beerus, not very good. This Piccolo, not particularly great. Actually, there is one that I missed that I should have brought up. Yeah, this guy. So if you don't have the Dokkan Fest Piccolo, you can use this guy who just got his EZA on global. He's such an old unit that I feel like a lot of people will probably have had this guy. So if you did the Extreme Z area, he gives everyone 77% defense, and then he gets a small buff from Bond of Master and Disciple category units, which some of the units on this team will be in. But even if they're not, the fact that he's giving everyone 77% defense is actually really good. And of course, he's an EZA unit, so he has, if you have him rainbowed, he's actually got pretty decent stats. So if you don't have the Dokkan Fest Piccolo, he's actually a decent choice. He's kind of like almost like an alternate version of the MVP 17, because he's just providing defense to everybody. He actually gives more defense, but I do think 17 is probably better overall. He's definitely going to hit harder. But yeah, this Piccolo definitely a decent pick as well. And then I believe that's basically it. No one else here really stands out. Obviously, if you're free to play, we haven't really talked about a lot of free to play units. I don't cover free to play that much on my channel because I don't really put a lot of work into free to play units unless they're good enough to be run on top tier teams. But of course, you can always come to this page on the wiki, or of course even easier than that, go into your box and just filter by worthy rivals. So there you go. Those are my top picks. Like I said, I will probably be using this Vegeta and then basically like a whole Vegeta team, starting from like this guy. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'll probably bring this guy, and then I think that will work out quite nicely. So that is my guide for destroying the ZAMASU EZA. Let me know your team build down below, who you're going to bring, and what stage you plan to go to. I know most people just get to 30 and dip, but there's a lot of people on my friends list that like to compete for the highest stage. So let me know what you think down below. And if you do have any further questions, any units that we haven't mentioned, or maybe you don't have a lot of these units and you need some advice, feel free to ask in the comments. Everyone's usually very helpful. And of course, the link to my Discord is in the description, where we do have a team building section as well. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. You can follow me on Twitch or join my Discord. The link is in the description below. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.